We are live. It's the Revved Up 906 podcast, a Detroit Pistons podcast, to be exact. And I'm Hudson.
And I'm Ryan.
And before we get into episode number 12 of season 2, I want to remind you guys of a few things. In today's episode, we are wearing our new Revved Up hats. So make sure to check out our hats as we're spilling the tea on everything Jalen Duren. But also, if you are interested in buying the sweatshirt that Ryan is wearing in episode 12, and these hats will be released soon, you can click the link on our YouTube bio or in the description below this video. And that link will send you to Grind Clothing Co.'s website. And they are our official merch sponsor. So make sure to rep your favorite Detroit Pistons podcast. We also have all different types of designs that are revved up, styled, and from the minds of your favorite co-hosts, Hudson and Ryan. Make sure, if you are new to the channel, to like and subscribe, because if you want to know what's going on with the Detroit Pistons, you got to be subscribed to Revved Up 906. And if you like our content, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and comment below. Today, we are going to be talking about Jalen Duren and everything about going on, everything that are about him. So make sure to comment below if you have any hot takes or any comments on what we are talking about. We would love to know what the Pistons community is thinking alongside with us. Without further ado, let's get into episode number 12. This week's topic is get Jalen Duren the ball. And this topic kind of is just going to be talking about the in and outs of how to get Jalen Duren the ball, what it might look like, why we should be getting Jalen Duren the ball as a Pistons squad, and what getting Jalen Duren the ball will look like in the absence of Cade and with Cade. And Ryan, when talking about getting Jalen Duren the ball more, it does revolve Cade Cunningham a lot, because Cade kind of controls everything that this Detroit Pistons offense is. And when Cade is on the court, that really affects how you get Jalen Duren the ball. So Ryan, what are some of the statistics with Jalen Duren's averages when Cade is playing and when Cade is not playing? Because that's a huge thing.
So when you break it down into in overall stats, in the last 5 games without Cade, Duren is averaging 18 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks. He's still averaging at least a turnover or 2, 2 fouls, shooting 69% from the field, 78% at the line, and then playing 30 minutes on average. But with Cade in the previous 5 games, of course, Cade's out with the injury right now, so we haven't been able to really see that combo as of Duren's uproar in stats goes, at least you could say. Previous 5 games with Cade, he's averaging 15 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, a turnover, 2 fouls, shooting 76% from the field, 89% at the line, and averaging 32.5 minutes. So, like, it's close, but not close. The only thing that's different is the rebounding and the points.
Right.
So without Cade, his scoring production is going up. His rebounding is going down because the ball's in his hands more. With Cade, it's just his normal self. He's averaging a lot of points. He's still getting the boards. So there's not really a big difference between the two outside of efficiency and then scoring. That's the big difference there.
Yeah, and the thing when addressing Jalen Duren, there's a couple factors, because we just saw against the Sacramento Kings and Cade-less Detroit Pistons team, Jalen Duren put up 21 points. Well, we haven't seen him put 20 points up in a ball game in a while, and I think that we've seen Jalen Duren's offensive ability, and we know that his footwork is impeccable. We know that he can back down a lot of other centers. We saw him do that against Dominic Barlow in the San Antonio Spurs. That was actually who he scored 20 points on. Was on the Spurs. He obliterated Barlow. I mean, he's a tall guy, lanky guy, but he is not built like our guy, Jalen Duren. So we know that Jalen Duren is physically dominant against other, especially backup centers on most NBA squads. So we know that against most squads, he can be getting 20 points. But then it comes down to, okay, how do you get Jalen Duren the ball? And what does that dynamic look like? And I think it's not just a Cade effort. I think it's a team effort. And when addressing how to get Jalen Duren the ball and what that looks like, I think it really looks like the dynamic between Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo that the Miami Heat have. I think if I'm Coach Monty Williams, I'm having Cade, Duren, Ivy, all these starting guards, starting minutes, sit down in the film room and break down what Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo do, because there's not necessarily plays set in place to set up Bam in the Miami Heat. Eric Spoelstra gives that starting lineup a freedom to do whatever it takes to get the ball in the hoop. And so what I like about that is when Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, and others in company guards see mismatches with Bam, they make an assertive effort to get Bam the ball, because we know Bam has the same type of footwork Jalen Duren has. And he's also a great passer, much like Jalen Duren. So I think since Jalen Duren is such a great passer, we haven't seen him utilize that side of offense much this season. Jalen Duren hasn't been setting up guys the way he did in his rookie year. I say the first thing when Cade's bringing up the ball isn't to give it to Bojan on the 3-point line, isn't to have to call a screen from Jalen Duren automatically. I say Cade brings up the ball and he's thinking, where is Duren? How do I get him the ball? Not because I think Duren can score every time on the offensive end, but he is going to be able to set up other Pistons on the offensive end. So you get Jalen Duren the ball in the paint, and then you have Bojan or Jaden cut or Cade cut. And then you see what Jalen Duren can do to set up those cutters. Because I think that's one thing the Pistons haven't utilized early this season is Jalen's passing ability.
Yeah, Jalen is a very unselfish player. He typically looks for others before himself. And that's kind of why, even though we're wanting to see him score the ball more, right? Even though we're wanting to see that, it's going to be a big struggle for him, because right now he's averaging 9 shots a game. Cade, when playing, has been averaging close to 19 to 22 shots a game. And then you have Bojan, who is right in that ballpark too, around the 16 shots a game mark. And then Alec Burks recently off the bench, getting near the 13 to 14 shots a game mark. So you're seeing these guys who take a lot of shots because obviously they're willing to, right? And then on top of that, they're actually good scorers and good shooters. And that's why this is going to be a little bit harder for Duren, because Monty's been preaching it all year long. Ever since he walked in the gym the first day there, he's been like, hey, Duren, I want you to, whenever you have an opportunity to take a shot, you're taking that shot. Like, you shouldn't be passing these opportunities up, because you're one of the most efficient big men in the league. You're one of the most efficient players on this team. And there's going to be a lot of positives versus negatives with you scoring the ball and taking a shot up. But that's the issue, because of how unselfish he is, he always looks for others, right? So even if he wanted to get a shot up, he's going to obviously look for an open teammate right away before even he looks for himself. And when you have players on our team like Cade Cunningham, like Bojan Bogdanovic, like Jaden Ivey, like Alec Burks, who like getting shots up, it's hard for Duren to sit there and go like, you know what, I'm going to pass this opportunity up on my end and let them do all the scoring, because all I have to do is get a rebound and boom, there's a putback right there. There's my points. I don't have to look for my own shot. But without Cade the last couple of games out there, he's recognized, oh my goodness, I'm the next man up. Like, it's not Bojan Bogdanovic, it's not Alec Burks, it's not Jaden Ivey. I'm the next man up. I'm the one that needs to be the Batman, and everybody else is the Robin. With Cade out there, I'm Robin, he's Batman, yada yada. But without Cade out there, I need to step up. I need to step up offensively and get more shots up. And that's what we've seen. The fact that he's shooting pretty efficiently still,
Mhm.
and getting up 17 to 20 points a night without Cade and with the offense we have around them. It's pretty impressive to see because it shows you that he can do more than just rebound. He can score. So the big issue in this situation is his unselfishness, because if he was selfish, which he isn't, he'd be looking to score right away.
Right.
He'd be kind of having a similar situation that like a DeMarcus Cousins had with the Kings
Oh, yeah.
early on in his career. Like that's how I see Duren, because at that stage of DeMarcus Cousins' career, everybody's going like DeMarcus Cousins MVP conversation. He should be in that talk. Like he was so dominant during that stretch that he'd be averaging 25 to 30 points a night, and he'd be going coast to coast, rim to rim, just finishing at both ends. And it's like, wow, what the heck is going on? He's so dominant. But that's just him being selfish. So if Duren, I'm not saying stop being unselfish, be more selfish. I'm not saying that. But if he were to do so, like he has in the last 5 games, we could see him scoring the ball a lot more and being a lot more effective on the game as an overall basis rather than what he has been.
Yeah, and while Cade has been out on injury, we have seen Duren be a little bit more assertive on the offensive end. When he gets a big defensive rebound, we've seen it in the last like 3 games where he brings the ball up full court, trying to get the offense going. So I do think with the absence of Cade, we have seen Jalen Duren be the most assertive in finding his own shot as we've seen in his career, because I agree, he is trying to set screens, trying when he's getting the ball, he's trying to pass the ball to the next smartest play. He's not trying to think of his own shot. Only when he gets offensive rebounds is he thinking, I'm bringing this back up. That's really the only time when he's trying to back down a guy. But something that I wanted to think about when talking about the topic of get Jalen Duren the ball is I don't love the comparison of Duren and Dwight Howard, but I wanted to look at the stats that Dwight Howard averaged when the Magic made it to the NBA Finals against the Kobe and the Lakers, because it kind of shows us the path that a dominant center has to take in order to play championship level basketball. And I don't think that's what Duren has to be focused on. But if and when the Pistons make the finals in future years, there's going to be a path that Jalen Duren has to take. And I think Jalen Duren will be on this team when we are playing championship level basketball. But the funny thing is, when Dwight Howard made the NBA Finals, they would eventually lose to the LA Lakers with the Orlando Magic. But he averaged 15 points, 15 rebounds, and 4 blocks in those 5 games of the NBA Finals. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that Jalen Duren isn't out of the realm of these statistics. Ryan, right now, what is Jalen Duren averaging?
Right now, he's averaging 14 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, a block, 2 turnovers, 3 fouls, shooting 65% from the field and 70% at the line.
So you may be asking, well, Hudson, what's the big difference between Dwight's MVP caliber season when they made the NBA Finals in 2008 and Jalen Duren now? Well, there's not a huge difference in the averages, but when it comes down to this Orlando Magic team made an assertive effort to get Dwight Howard the ball because he added a dynamic to that offense that made them unpredictable. And that's not what the Pistons have right now. So that's the only reason I think the Pistons should start to think, how can we get Jalen Duren the ball? Because the Pistons right now are predictable. They know Cade is going to bring up the ball and try to find his own shot and dump it off to Ivy or Bojan. There's not many other options. And we know that Bojan is going to try to find his own shot. We know that Bojan is focused on getting up 20 to 25 shots a game. We just know that. Each and every game, he's trying to get up as much shots as possible. So I think the reason why the Pistons have to start thinking about getting Duren the ball is because we haven't done that yet. That's one of the stones that we've left unturned. And when you're losing, you have to turn every stone and see what positives, what things can we do with the team we have now. If we're not going to make any big time trades, what can we do to give a new dynamic, a new look to this Pistons team? And one of those things is get Jalen Duren the ball. And I'm not saying that Cade has to take 10 less shots a game. I'm not even saying that Duren really changes what he's doing now as far as averages. I'm not saying he has to get 23 to 25 points a game. I'm saying let's make an assertive effort to make Jalen Duren a number 2 guy on this offense, because he's not just good at scoring, but he's also good at passing. And I think right now when opposing teams come into Little Caesars Arena, the only thing on their game plan is to deny Bojan getting the ball in the passing lane and to double, triple team Cade Cunningham. And so that means that this team is too predictable. And every team that's made it to the NBA championships and won the finals, there's a couple things in common. A couple superstars are leading the team, but they have a wide variety of choices to score on the offensive end. So it makes that team unpredictable. And right now, the Pistons are very predictable, in my opinion.
Yeah, when you think about this and the situation of getting Jalen Duren the ball, and then Cade being the type of player he is, and all these recent teams in NBA history being as, I guess you could say, what's the word I could use for this? I guess the amount of options you could have on a possible championship caliber team. There's a lot of options in terms of scoring the ball. You look at the Heels as an example. You have LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade. Then don't forget you have Mario Chalmers too, Norris Cole, Ray Allen, and then even Chris Anderson, the Birdman at times. You have multiple options on that team. You look at the Celtics, Glenn Davis, Rajon Rondo, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, etc. You have all these options, right? And then even you look at the Pistons in 2004, you have Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace. Don't forget Lindsey Hunter either. You have multiple scoring options. And that's what this team is lacking right now. They have a couple scoring options, but they don't have a lot of options. And then also, like, you look at these championship caliber teams that I listed off to you just now, and you think about what they all have in common. They have an elite big man. Chris Bosh, elite. The Celtics, Kevin Garnett, elite. And then even the Pistons, the 04 Pistons, Ben Wallace, elite. You have elite big men play. And that's what a lot of the teams in the league right now are missing out on. Like, you look at the Warriors, they have Kevon Looney. No disrespect, he's a great big man, but he's not elite. You look at the Boston Celtics, they traded away Robert Williams this offseason and to get Drew Holiday, which helped them but hurt them at the same time, because Kristaps Porzingis, as good as he is, he's not elite. You look at the Miami Heat, Bam Adebayo, I love him. He's an all-star, great player. He's not elite. There's a lot of these teams in the league that don't have elite big man play that are lacking in that department, because right now where the league is at, we're at scoring the ball. You're not going to score with a big man majority of the time with all these teams. You talk about like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, LaMelo Ball, Zach LaVine, Jimmy Butler, LeBron James, etc. All of them have in common is they're all on the wing. They don't have elite big man play. Now the Lakers, you could say, yeah, Anthony Davis is elite. In my book, he's not, but that's neither here or there. I'm just not a big fan of him. And so a lot of people could say he is elite. But the point is, all these teams, what they have in common is they don't have elite big man play. That's something that we could actually just utilize ourselves, and we could win games because of it. Because you look at old school basketball, they all had elite big men. No matter what year you went to, they had an elite big man. The Boston Celtics, Bill Russell, Lakers, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaq, like all these teams, all these successful historical teams have had elite big man play. And so all I'm saying is, if we can get Duren, I'm not saying that I'm comparing Duren to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Shaq. I'm not saying that at all. They're three totally, completely different players. But if we can get Duren to the level of being an elite big man, that opens up opportunities for others scoring the ball, for one. And then two, it's just like it's a whole new threat because where we are as a league, we're scoring the ball. We're offense. We're not defense. But if we can get the defense and offense out of Duren in terms of that production to the level that all these other big men have had over their careers, that makes the Pistons a whole bigger threat because you're going like, do I guard Cade Cunningham or do I guard Jalen Duren? Or then do I guard Cade, Duren, or Bojan? Cade, Duren, Bojan, or Ivy? Like it opens up pretty much a Pandora's box of opportunities for the Pistons. And that's what I want to see out of Duren is I want to see elite basketball because I feel like he can get to that. You have Gilbert Arenas, you have Paul George, you have all these former players, well, and current players saying that Duren could be the face of the league in a couple years. Like he's that good. Like Paul George made the comment last year on his podcast saying that, yeah, I couldn't even move the dude. And he's 18 years old. I couldn't budge him at all. And then you have all these other former players going like, yeah, the kid is legit. The fact that he's still only 20 years old and he's playing as good as he is right now and he's built like he could have a promising career. So all I'm saying is if we could get elite play out of Jalen Duren, that would open up opportunities for us in terms of the overall players still. And Duren could still be an unselfish player. And then it just opens up more opportunities for himself in what this team could be in the future.
So we talked about what we want the offense to look like and the way we see it succeeding in the centerpiece of Jalen Duren and Cade Cunningham. But let's talk about what we have seen this season and what the current present offense is kind of going through. And I want to hone in on the pick and roll, especially because right now, these last 35 games, the centerpiece of the offense and what the role of the centers to be is what they're having Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren do essentially is Cade brings up the ball and they meet Cade at the 3-point line or a little above, and they try to set these two screens. So they try to get the defender on Cade with that first one. And then as soon as a defender comes to help on that screen, Stewart or Duren try to get that second screen right at the top. And then whoever sent that first screen for Cade rolls to the basket. That's what we have seen currently. And we know that it hasn't worked, Ryan. So I guess my question I'm going to propose is, do you stick with that and still be assertive with Duren, or do you kind of change that scheme? And when Jalen Duren is succeeding on the offensive end, is it a different offensive scheme, or do you see it working with keeping that double screen at the top of the key? Like when Jalen Duren is succeeding offensively, what does it look like? Is it still the same or is it different?
I think it's a little different. I think what has been done so far could still work. I think that's just an added bonus on what it could be off of what it is. But I think what I want to see at least is what happens when you have the guys come up the floor, you have Duren in the paint, and you just throw him the ball. What happens when you get him the ball? Does the defense collapse? Because if they collapse, that opens up opportunities for others to get a shot up. You kick it out, boom, wide open three. There you go.
Exactly.
So I want to see what happens in that situation. What happens when you force the ball to the paint? Because like the way Stewart has developed a 3-point shot in the last year or so, you could have him roll out, have 4 guys along the 3-point line, have Duren in the paint, toss him the rock, see what happens. If the defense just completely swarms in on Duren, that's fantastic because I would assume that, I mean, obviously that creates opportunities for others, but then it also shows us, do these teams respect Jalen Duren enough to double team him, triple team him, etc. Or like in that situation, I feel like the defense would kind of collapse, but a man would still be on like Cade Cunningham and Bojan Bogdanovic. I think otherwise you'd have Stewart wide open, and then you'd have like Jaden Ivey wide open, right? I don't think the defense is going to completely collapse, but That's kind of what I want to see is, do these teams respect him enough to completely collapse on him? Because if so, then we could see like that whole dynamic of you throw it in, he kicks it out, boom, there's your offense. Go along, something like that. But if not, who cares? Because Duren can immediately go up and finish at the rim. So that's kind of what I want to see. But with the current dynamic, with the pick and roll and what we have been doing, I think it could still work. Because obviously at all times you kind of want to have your star player have the ball in his hands, and that's Cade Cunningham. But without Cade, due to his injury to his left knee, I kind of want to see what I just said, because during the last 5 games has been very efficient, and he's still putting up a crap ton of points, still being effective on the defensive side of the ball too, and getting his rebounds also. So I just kind of want to see that dynamic, see what happens. I'm not saying like, hey, Monty, go out and do that right now. I'm not saying that. He knows better than what I do. He knows better than a whole lot of people do, and what this team needs to be successful and what they can do to be successful. Because I mean, it's his team. He's shaped. He has a full-on offense built up around these guys. He knows how to handle certain situations that we don't even know how to handle or comprehend sometimes. So, but yeah, I would like to see what happens if we dump the ball off to Duren. Does the defense collapse? And if they do, then you have opportunities outside the 3 to move the ball around, because and for others. And then if not, guess what? You have a wide open shot at the rim, with the opposing big man right there. But Duren knows how to create fouls for himself. So I have no issues there. But that's kind of what I want to see. Not saying we'll see it, but I think that would be very interesting to see.
Well, and it's interesting because I don't know where the coaching staff's head is at, because I understand that they may think Jalen Duren will generate offense for himself on the offensive rebounds. I totally get that line of thinking. He does get his fair share of offensive rebounds. So they just think that off those second chance points, off those second chance rebounds, he'll get points. I get that. But we haven't seen a point guard just give the ball to Duren in the paint and see what happens. We have gotten very minimal film on that. So I think it's time now, especially while Cade's out with injury, kind of stretch the thinking of this current offense, kind of stretch the schemes that we have been running with and what the guys are comfortable with. We are losing games. We almost set the record for the most consecutive losses. Why not try to switch up some things that are broken right now? Because as soon as we start giving a new dynamic to this offense, it makes the Detroit Pistons unpredictable. And I think that's the biggest thing that this young team needs, is to give opposing teams something that they didn't see in film or they didn't get in the game plan. Because right now the Pistons are very predictable, and I think it starts with our 2 main guys, Cade and Duren. And so it was kind of nice to focus in on the topic of, okay, what does it look like to get Jalen Duren the ball? That will do it for episode number 12 of season 2. If you like our content, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Comment below what your thoughts are on getting Jalen Duren the ball, what it might look like, what you see, if you see the team being successful from that type of game plan. Let us know in the comments. It was kind of fun just to talk about the certain intricacies of what it might look like to get Jalen Duren the ball. We will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.